Your mind is the most powerful tool you possess. It shapes your perceptions, dictates your reactions, and ultimately determines the course of your life. Every experience you have, every challenge you face, and every opportunity that presents itself is filtered through your mind. Yet most people go through life allowing external circumstances to control their thoughts and emotions, never realizing that the true source of power lies within them. Training your mind to be calm in every situation begins with understanding that your mind is your greatest weapon, one that can either work for you or against you depending on how you use it. When faced with adversity, many people instinctively panic, worry, or react impulsively. This is because the mind, when left untrained, operates in survival mode. It perceives threats everywhere, even in situations that do not warrant such a response. A small inconvenience can feel like a catastrophe, a disagreement can feel like an attack, and an uncertain future can feel like impending doom. The reason for this is simple. The mind is conditioned to seek comfort and avoid discomfort at all costs. When something disrupts that comfort, the untrained mind spirals into a state of stress and anxiety, making even minor challenges seem overwhelming. However, when you recognize that your mind is your greatest weapon, you begin to see that you are not at the mercy of these automatic responses. You have the ability to shape your thoughts, regulate your emotions, and choose how you respond to any given situation. But this requires conscious effort. Just as a warrior must train relentlessly to master their sword, you must train your mind daily to develop the ability to remain calm and composed under pressure. Imagine standing in the middle of a storm, the winds howl, the rain pours, and the ground shakes beneath your feet. Most people in this situation would panic, running in every direction, trying to escape the chaos. But a trained mind knows that the storm is temporary. It does not waste energy fighting what cannot be controlled. Instead, it stands firm, unshaken, knowing that clarity and strength come from within. The same principle applies to life. When you face difficulties, your mind will either act as your strongest shield or your greatest enemy. The difference lies in whether or not you have trained it to remain calm. To understand the true power of a calm mind, consider how the most successful leaders, athletes, and visionaries operate. They do not allow emotions to dictate their decisions. They do not panic under pressure. Instead, they cultivate a mindset that allows them to think clearly, assess situations objectively, and respond with precision. They understand that the mind, when properly trained, becomes an unstoppable force, one that can navigate even the most challenging circumstances with grace and control. Training your mind to be calm does not mean suppressing emotions or ignoring problems. It means developing the awareness and discipline to manage your reactions effectively. When faced with a stressful situation, instead of immediately reacting, take a step back, observe your thoughts, recognize the automatic impulses that arise. Instead of letting those impulses control you, take a deep breath and remind yourself that you have a choice in how you respond. This simple shift in perspective changes everything. Most people believe that external events determine their state of mind. They think, if only my circumstances were better, I would be happier, or if only people treated me differently, I would feel more at peace. But the truth is, peace and calmness do not come from external circumstances, they come from within. You can have everything you desire, success, wealth, recognition, but if your mind is chaotic, none of it will bring you peace. Conversely, you can face immense challenges and still remain at peace if you have trained your mind to do so. Think about the last time you were in a stressful situation. Did panicking help? Did overthinking solve the problem? More often than not, anxiety only makes things worse. It clouds judgment, narrows perspective, and creates unnecessary suffering. The strongest minds are those that learn to detach from the chaos, observe situations objectively, and respond with wisdom rather than emotion. One way to train your mind to be calm is by practicing mindfulness. This means being fully present in the moment rather than getting lost in worries about the past or fears about the future. When you train yourself to stay present, you gain control over your thoughts rather than letting them control you. Another powerful technique is deep breathing. When stress arises, the body tenses up and the breath becomes shallow. By consciously slowing your breath, you send a signal to your nervous system that there is no real danger, allowing your body and mind to relax. Another key aspect of mental training is self-awareness. Most people go through life on autopilot, reacting to situations without understanding why they feel the way they do. But when you take the time to examine your thoughts and emotions, you begin to see patterns. You recognize that certain triggers cause you to react in specific ways. And once you become aware of these patterns, you can begin to change them. Instead of reacting impulsively, you can pause, reflect, and choose a response that aligns with your goals and values. It is also important to challenge negative thought patterns. The mind is constantly creating narratives about what is happening around you. If left unchecked, these narratives can become distorted, leading to unnecessary stress and anxiety. For example, if you make a mistake, an untrained mind might say, "I always mess things up," or "I am not good enough." But a trained mind recognizes these thoughts as unhelpful and replaces them with more constructive perspectives, such as "this is an opportunity to learn," or "one mistake does not define me." Training your mind to be calm is not something that happens overnight. It requires consistent effort and practice. Just as physical strength is built through regular exercise, mental strength is developed through daily habits that reinforce discipline, awareness, and emotional control. Meditation, journaling, and self-reflection are all powerful tools for strengthening the mind. The more you engage in these practices, the more naturally calmness will become your default state, even in the face of difficulty. Ultimately, the mind is like a double-edged sword. It can either work for you or against you. If you do not train it, it will default to patterns of stress, fear, and impulsivity. But if you take control, if you consciously shape your thoughts and responses, your mind becomes your greatest ally. You will move through life with a sense of clarity, confidence, and resilience that nothing can shake. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They arise in response to the events, people, and circumstances we encounter daily. Happiness, anger, sadness, fear, frustration. Each of these emotions serves a purpose, but the problem arises when we allow them to control us rather than us controlling them. The reality is that emotions are temporary. They come and go like waves in the ocean. Some waves are gentle, lapping at the shore, while others crash violently, pulling everything in their path. But no matter how powerful a wave seems in the moment, it always recedes. The same is true for emotions. They feel overwhelming when they surge through us, but they never last forever. What remains permanent, however, is the ability to control how we react to those emotions. Many people make the mistake of identifying too closely with their emotions. When they feel anxious, they say, "I am anxious," instead of recognizing, "I am experiencing anxiety right now." When they feel angry, they believe that the anger defines them in that moment. But this is an illusion. Emotions are not who we are. They are simply experiences passing through us. A storm does not become the sky, just as an emotion does not become the person experiencing it. When we understand this, we begin to realize that we have the power to observe our emotions without being consumed by them. The human brain is wired for survival. Long ago, when humans lived in the wild, emotions like fear and anxiety played a crucial role in keeping them alive. A sudden noise in the bushes triggered an immediate response, either fight, flight, or freeze, because it could mean danger. But today, we no longer face the same life-threatening dangers on a daily basis. Despite this, our brains still react as if we do. A critical comment from a coworker, a missed deadline, or an uncertain future can trigger the same survival mechanisms that our ancestors needed to escape predators. The difference is that today, these emotional reactions often cause more harm than good. They make us overreact, cloud our judgment, and lead us to make impulsive decisions that we later regret. To regain control, we must train ourselves to see emotions for what they really are: temporary sensations, not absolute truths. Just because you feel fear does not mean you are in danger. Just because you feel anger does not mean you must act on it. Just because you feel overwhelmed does not mean you are incapable. The key is to develop emotional intelligence, which allows us to recognize our emotions, understand their source, and choose a response rather than reacting on impulse. One of the most effective ways to train emotional control is by developing self-awareness. This means paying close attention to how emotions arise within you and noticing the patterns they follow. For example, if certain situations consistently trigger frustration or anxiety, Take the time to analyze why. Is it because of unrealistic expectations? Is it because of past experiences that shaped your perspective? When you become aware of these patterns, you gain the power to interrupt them. Instead of letting emotions dictate your behavior, you can take a step back, observe them, and make a conscious decision on how to respond. Breathing techniques are another powerful tool for emotional control. When we experience strong emotions, our breathing often becomes shallow and rapid, signaling to the brain that we are in danger. But by consciously slowing our breath, we send the opposite message, that we are safe, that there is no real threat. Deep breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which calms the body and mind, making it easier to think clearly. A simple yet effective technique is the 4-7-8 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. This simple practice can shift your emotional state in just a few moments, preventing impulsive reactions and restoring a sense of calm. Another important aspect of emotional control is shifting perspective. Often, the intensity of an emotion is not caused by the situation itself, but by the way we interpret it. Two people can experience the same event, yet react in completely different ways. One might feel insulted while the other sees it as an opportunity for growth. One might panic while the other remains composed. The difference is in the mindset. When we train ourselves to view challenges as learning experiences rather than threats, we weaken the grip that negative emotions have on us. Instead of reacting with fear or frustration, we begin to respond with curiosity and resilience. Emotional control does not mean suppressing emotions. Many people believe that staying calm means ignoring or bottling up their feelings, but this only leads to greater problems in the long run. Suppressed emotions do not disappear, they build up, waiting for an opportunity to explode. True control comes from acknowledging emotions, allowing yourself to feel them fully, but choosing how you express them. There is a significant difference between feeling anger and lashing out in anger, just as there is a difference between feeling fear and letting fear dictate your actions. The strongest people are not those who feel nothing, but those who feel everything and still maintain control. Practicing mindfulness is another way to develop emotional mastery. Mindfulness involves staying fully present in the moment, observing thoughts and emotions without judgment. Instead of getting lost in overthinking or reacting impulsively, mindfulness helps create a space between the emotion and the response. This space is where true control exists. By training yourself to stay present, you develop the ability to recognize emotions as they arise and make deliberate choices rather than falling into habitual reactions. Another important factor in emotional control is understanding that our thoughts shape our emotions. The mind is constantly generating interpretations of what happens around us, and these interpretations determine how we feel. If someone cuts you off in traffic, you might immediately think, that person is so rude, which triggers anger. But if you consider maybe they are rushing to the hospital, the emotion shifts. The situation is the same, but the emotion changes based on the story you tell yourself. By becoming aware of the narratives your mind creates, you gain the ability to shift them, which in turn changes how you feel and respond. Developing emotional control also requires patience. No one becomes a master of their emotions overnight. Just like any skill, it takes consistent practice and self-discipline. There will be moments when emotions get the best of you, but instead of seeing these moments as failures, view them as opportunities to learn. Each time you catch yourself reacting impulsively and choose to adjust your response, you strengthen your ability to remain calm in the future. The goal is not perfection, but progress, training yourself little by little until calmness becomes your natural state, regardless of the circumstances around you. In the fast-paced world we live in, people are often caught up in a cycle of immediate reactions. Something happens, and without a second thought, they lash out, panic, or let fear take over. This is the nature of an untrained mind. It reacts without pause, driven by emotions rather than reason. But the truth is, most mistakes are made in moments of impulse. Words spoken in anger, decisions made in frustration, or actions taken in haste often lead to regret. Reacting without thinking creates unnecessary conflict, damages relationships, and clouds judgment. On the other hand, those who have trained their minds to pause, reflect, and then respond make better choices, handle challenges more effectively, and maintain their inner peace. Despite external chaos, the ability to respond instead of react is not just a skill, it is a form of power, one that separates the wise from the reckless, the strong from the weak, and the composed from the chaotic. The difference between reacting and responding lies in the space between an event and the action that follows. A reaction is immediate, instinctual, and often emotional. It is driven by past conditioning, unchecked impulses, and deeply ingrained habits. For example, if someone insults you, your first reaction might be to retaliate with an insult of your own. If something does not go your way, frustration may take over, leading you to act irrationally. These reactions happen so quickly that they often feel automatic, as if there is no choice involved. But there is always a choice. A response, on the other hand, is deliberate. It involves taking a moment to process the situation, assessing the best course of action, and then proceeding with intention. When you respond instead of react, you remain in control. You do not allow your emotions to dictate your actions, and you do not become a slave to impulse. This ability is especially valuable in moments of conflict. When tensions rise and emotions run high, it is easy to react with anger or defensiveness. But these reactions rarely resolve anything. Instead, they escalate the situation, leading to further misunderstanding and hostility. A person who has trained their mind to remain calm does not fall into this trap. Instead of reacting emotionally, they take a deep breath, consider the bigger picture, and choose a response that diffuses tension rather than fueling it. This is the mindset of great leaders, successful negotiators, and those who command respect without needing to demand it. One of the most effective ways to develop this ability is by cultivating self-awareness. Most people go through life unaware of their own patterns of reaction. They do not question why they get irritated in certain situations, why certain words trigger an emotional response, or why they feel the need to defend themselves aggressively. But by becoming aware of these automatic reactions, you begin to take control over them. You start to recognize when an emotion is arising, and instead of immediately acting on it, you take a step back. This small pause creates room for logic and clarity, allowing you to choose a response that aligns with your long-term goals rather than your temporary emotions. Breathing techniques play a crucial role in this process. When faced with a stressful or emotionally charged situation, the body's natural response is to tense up, the heart rate increases, the breath becomes shallow, and the mind goes into a state of heightened alertness. This physiological response is designed for survival, but in modern life, it often does more harm than good. By consciously slowing your breath, you signal to your nervous system that there is no immediate danger, allowing your mind to regain composure. A simple yet powerful technique is the 3-second rule. Before speaking or acting in a tense moment, take 3 deep breaths. This brief pause can mean the difference between an impulsive reaction and a thoughtful response. Another method to train yourself to respond rather than react is through visualization. Before entering a situation where you know you might be triggered, whether it is a difficult conversation, a high-pressure meeting, or a personal confrontation, take a few moments to visualize yourself handling it with calm and control. Picture yourself pausing before speaking, choosing your words carefully, and maintaining a composed demeanor. This mental rehearsal strengthens the neural pathways associated with calm responses, making it easier to act that way in real situations. The language we use internally also influences whether we react or respond. Many people engage in self-talk that fuels emotional reactions. Phrases like, "I can't stand this," "This always happens to me," or "They are trying to make me angry," reinforce a reactive mindset. Shifting to a more constructive internal dialogue can change this. Instead of saying, "I can't deal with this," try saying, "I can handle this calmly." Instead of thinking, "They are being difficult," shift to, "I will not let their behavior affect my peace." These small changes in language create a shift in mindset, allowing for more measured responses. Practicing mindfulness is another effective way to develop the habit of responding instead of reacting. Mindfulness involves staying fully present in the moment rather than being caught up in automatic thoughts and emotions. When you are mindful, you become an observer of your own mind. You notice when irritation starts to rise, when fear begins to creep in, or when anger flares up. Instead of letting these emotions take control, you acknowledge them, without judgment and decide how to proceed. Over time, this practice strengthens your ability to remain calm under pressure and choose your responses wisely. It is also helpful to adopt a long-term perspective. Many of the things that trigger emotional reactions are insignificant in the grand scheme of life. A rude comment from a stranger, a minor inconvenience, or a temporary setback may feel important in the moment, but when viewed from a broader perspective, they lose their power. Before reacting, ask yourself, will this matter a week from now, a month from now, a year from now? More often than not, the answer is no. Keeping this perspective in mind helps prevent unnecessary emotional reactions and encourages thoughtful responses. Another powerful technique is delaying action. If you feel overwhelmed with emotion and are tempted to react, give yourself time. If possible, step away from the situation, go for a walk, listen to calming music, or engage in an activity that helps clear your mind. Time creates distance, and distance creates clarity. What feels urgent in the heat of the moment often seems less significant after a period of reflection. By allowing yourself this space, you gain the ability to approach situations with greater wisdom and composure. Training yourself to respond rather than react is a lifelong practice, but it is one that yields incredible benefits. The more you cultivate this ability, the more you will find that you are no longer easily rattled by external events. You will experience fewer regrets, build stronger relationships, and carry yourself with a sense of confidence that comes from knowing you are in control of your own mind and emotions.
The way a person experiences life is not determined solely by external circumstances, but rather by the way they interpret and react to those circumstances. Some people remain composed even in the face of adversity, while others feel overwhelmed by even the smallest challenges. The difference lies in how much control they have over their inner world. Those who allow external events, other people's opinions, or unexpected difficulties to dictate their emotions live in a constant state of stress and instability. They feel powerless, as if life is something that happens to them rather than something they actively shape. But those who have trained their minds to remain steady regardless of what is happening around them possess a rare kind of power. They understand that true control does not come from trying to manipulate external circumstances, but from mastering their own thoughts and emotions. The mind, when left untrained, is like a wild animal, easily disturbed, reactive, and difficult to control. It jumps from thought to thought, clinging to worries, regrets, and anxieties. When something goes wrong, it spirals into negativity. When faced with uncertainty, it creates endless scenarios of what might go wrong. A person ruled by such a mind is constantly at the mercy of their surroundings. If someone speaks harshly to them, they immediately feel offended. If they encounter a setback, they immediately feel defeated. Their emotional state is entirely dependent on what is happening outside of them. But the moment a person decides to take control of their inner world, everything changes. They realize that they have the power to choose their reactions, to shift their perspective, and to remain unaffected by negativity. Training the mind to remain steady begins with awareness. Most people go through life reacting without realizing that they have a choice. They get irritated without questioning why. They feel anxious without understanding what is fueling their anxiety. But the moment a person starts observing their thoughts, emotions, and triggers, they begin to see patterns. They recognize that certain situations provoke anger, that specific words cause insecurity, and that particular fears arise repeatedly. With this awareness comes the ability to intervene. Instead of letting emotions dictate their actions, they can pause, assess, and decide how they want to respond. This shift in perspective is the first step toward true inner mastery. One of the most powerful ways to gain control over the mind is by practicing detachment. Detachment does not mean being indifferent or emotionless. Rather, it means not allowing external events to disturb one's inner peace. When a person is detached, they do not take everything personally. If someone insults them, they do not immediately feel the need to defend themselves because they understand that the insult is a reflection of the other person's state of mind, not their own worth. If they face a setback, they do not see it as a personal failure, but as a temporary challenge. This ability to create emotional distance from external events prevents unnecessary suffering and allows for greater clarity in decision-making. Another essential aspect of mastering the inner world is controlling the mind's internal dialogue. The way a person talks to themselves shapes their reality. If their inner dialogue is filled with self-doubt, fear, and negativity, they will see the world through that lens. If they constantly tell themselves that they are not good enough, that things never go their way, or that life is unfair, their mind will find evidence to support those beliefs. But if they take control of their self-talk, if they replace negative thoughts with empowering ones, they begin to rewire their mindset. Instead of thinking, this is too hard, they remind themselves, I am capable of handling this. Instead of focusing on problems, they train themselves to look for solutions. Over time, this shift in thinking changes the way they experience life. Mental discipline also plays a crucial role in maintaining control over the inner world. Just as a person trains their body through exercise, they must train their mind through consistent practice. One way to do this is by setting clear boundaries on what they allow to enter their mental space. If they constantly consume negative news, engage in gossip, or surround themselves with people who drain their energy, their mind will reflect that negativity. But if they are intentional about what they focus on, choosing to read uplifting books, engage in meaningful conversations, and spend time in environments that promote peace, their mind begins to reflect that positivity. Meditation is another powerful tool for gaining control over the inner world. When a person meditates, they train themselves to observe their thoughts without getting lost in them. They develop the ability to create a gap between an emotion and their reaction, allowing them to respond with wisdom rather than impulse. Meditation also strengthens mental resilience, making it easier to remain calm in stressful situations. With regular practice, a person who once felt easily overwhelmed begins to feel centered no matter what is happening around them. A key element of inner mastery is the ability to shift perspective. Many people suffer not because of what happens to them, but because of how they interpret those events. If a person loses their job, they might see it as a personal failure, leading to feelings of hopelessness. But another person in the same situation might view it as an opportunity for growth, using it as motivation to pursue something better. The event is the same, but the experience is entirely different because of the perspective taken. By training themselves to see challenges as opportunities rather than setbacks, people can transform even the most difficult circumstances into stepping stones for growth. Letting go of the need for control is another crucial step in mastering the inner world. Many people experience unnecessary stress because they try to control things that are beyond their power. They worry about what others think of them, try to change people who do not want to change, or resist the natural flow of life. But true peace comes from recognizing that while they cannot always control external events, they can always control their response. Instead of wasting energy trying to force things to go their way, they learn to adapt, trust, and remain flexible. This mindset shift frees them from frustration and allows them to navigate life with greater ease. Another important practice for inner mastery is gratitude. When a person focuses on what they lack, they create a mindset of scarcity, which leads to feelings of dissatisfaction and frustration. But when they shift their focus to what they already have, they cultivate a sense of abundance. Gratitude rewires the brain to look for the positive aspects of life rather than dwelling on the negative. Even in difficult times, a person who practices gratitude can find something to appreciate, which helps them maintain inner stability regardless of external circumstances. Surrounding oneself with the right influences is also essential for maintaining control over the inner world. The people a person interacts with, the information they consume, and the environments they spend time in all shape their mindset. If they are constantly exposed to negativity, drama, or chaos, their mind will reflect that turbulence. But if they choose to be around people who uplift them, seek knowledge that expands their perspective, and create spaces that promote peace, their inner world becomes a reflection of that harmony. Inner peace is not something that happens by chance. It is something that must be cultivated and protected. The modern world is full of distractions, noise, and negativity, all of which can easily disturb the mind. Many people go through life feeling constantly overwhelmed, exhausted, and emotionally drained, without realizing that much of their suffering comes from the things they allow into their mental and emotional space. Just as a person carefully chooses what they eat to maintain physical health, they must also carefully choose what they allow into their mind to maintain mental and emotional well-being. Protecting inner peace requires conscious effort, self-discipline, and an understanding that not everything deserves attention or energy. Those who master this ability are not easily shaken by the chaos around them. They move through life with a deep sense of calm, knowing that their peace is their responsibility. One of the most important ways to protect inner peace is by setting clear boundaries. Many people struggle with stress and anxiety simply because they do not set limits on what they allow into their lives. They say yes to commitments they do not have the energy for, engage in conversations that drain them, and surround themselves with people who bring negativity into their space. But those who value their peace understand that not every invitation needs to be accepted, not every argument needs to be entertained, and not every relationship needs to be maintained. They are selective about where they invest their time and energy, recognizing that their mental and emotional well-being must come first. The people one chooses to surround themselves with play a major role in shaping their state of mind. Negative, toxic, or overly dramatic individuals can drain energy and disrupt inner peace. Some people thrive on gossip, conflict, or complaining, and spending too much time around them can make it difficult to maintain a calm and balanced mindset. A person who is serious about protecting their peace learns to distance themselves from such influences. This does not mean they hold grudges or dislike these individuals. It simply means they recognize that their own mental well-being is too important to sacrifice. Instead, they choose to surround themselves with those who uplift, inspire, and encourage growth. They understand that energy is contagious, and by being mindful of who they allow into their space, they create an environment that supports their inner peace. Another way to protect inner peace is by controlling the type of information consumed. In today's digital world, people are bombarded with an endless stream of news, opinions, and social media content, much of which is designed to provoke strong emotional reactions. Constant exposure to negative news, online debates, or social comparisons can easily disrupt mental and emotional balance. Those who guard their peace are intentional about what they allow into their minds. They limit unnecessary exposure to negative content, choose uplifting and educational material instead, and take regular breaks from digital distractions. They understand that just as unhealthy food can poison the body, unhealthy information can poison the mind. By being mindful of their mental diet, they ensure that their thoughts remain clear, positive, and undisturbed by unnecessary negativity. Practicing stillness and solitude is another essential way to protect inner peace. Many people fear being alone with their own thoughts, so they constantly seek distractions, whether through social media, television, or external stimulation. But those who understand the value of inner peace embrace solitude as a way to recharge and reconnect with themselves. Spending time alone, away from distractions, allows the mind to settle, thoughts to become clearer, and emotions to stabilize. Whether it is through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence, moments of stillness help create a strong foundation of inner calm that cannot be easily disturbed by external chaos. Letting go of the need to control everything is another key to maintaining inner peace. Many people experience unnecessary stress because they try to control things that are beyond their power, how others behave, how situations unfold, or how life plays out. But those who have trained their minds to remain calm understand that true peace comes from focusing only on what they can control, their own actions, thoughts, and responses. They accept that not everything will go their way, and instead of resisting life's uncertainties, they learn to flow with them. This acceptance frees them from frustration and allows them to remain calm even when things do not go as planned. Learning to detach from unnecessary drama is another powerful way to protect inner peace. Many people get caught up in conflicts, arguments, or petty issues that do not truly matter in the long run. They waste energy worrying about what others think, getting offended over small things, or engaging in debates that lead nowhere. But those who value their peace learn to pick their battles wisely. They understand that not everything requires a reaction, not every opinion needs to be defended, and not every problem is worth their energy. They practice emotional detachment, allowing negativity to pass by without getting caught up in it. A crucial part of protecting inner peace is developing emotional resilience. Life will always bring challenges, disappointments, and difficult situations, but how a person responds determines whether they maintain their peace or lose it. Those with emotional resilience do not let temporary difficulties shake them. They have trained themselves to view challenges as opportunities for growth rather than threats. They remain calm in difficult situations because they trust their ability to handle them. Instead of reacting impulsively to setbacks, they take a step back, assess the situation with a clear mind, and respond with wisdom. Another important practice for maintaining inner peace is gratitude. A mind that is constantly focused on what is wrong, missing, or unfair will never find peace, but a mind that focuses on what is good, abundant, and meaningful will naturally remain in a state of contentment. Practicing gratitude shifts attention away from problems and toward blessings. Even in difficult times, there is always something to be grateful for. A lesson learned, a small moment of joy, or simply the ability to experience life. Those who cultivate gratitude train their minds to focus on the positive, which protects them from unnecessary stress and negativity. Engaging in activities that promote relaxation and joy is another way to preserve inner peace. Many people neglect self-care, pushing themselves to the point of exhaustion without realizing that relaxation is essential for maintaining balance. Whether it is spending time in nature, engaging in creative hobbies, practicing yoga, or simply enjoying a quiet cup of tea, small acts of self-care help reset the mind and body. Those who prioritize their well-being understand that peace is not just about avoiding negativity, but also about actively nurturing positive emotions. Lastly, having a clear sense of purpose helps protect inner peace. But when a person knows what truly matters to them, they become less affected by distractions, negativity, or external pressures. They are not easily swayed by other people's opinions or minor setbacks because they have a clear direction in life. Their focus remains on their goals, values, and personal growth, which shields them from unnecessary emotional turbulence. They understand that inner peace is not something that is given, but something that must be actively maintained through conscious choices and disciplined habits.